The first snow had not yet fallen when Caleb Morgan found Ruth standing in his barn with a burning letter in her hand. "Tell me the truth," he said, aiming his old revolver at the dirt beside her boots. "Was Clara ever the woman who wrote to me?" Ruth's face went pale. Behind them, cattle cried in the darkness. Outside, armed riders circled the ranch house. She watched the flames consume the final page. Then she whispered, "Not in the way you believed." Before we return to the day Ruth stepped off that stagecoach, tell us where you are listening from. Like the story, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts below. And if someone unexpected ever changed your life, we would be honored to hear your experience. 2 months earlier, Caleb stood beside the stagecoach stop in Red Creek with dried prairie flowers in his hand. He was 38, broad-shouldered, and quiet. Grief had added silver to his dark hair. 2 years had passed since he first wrote to Clara Bennett in Missouri. Her letters had found him during the worst years of his life. Before Clara, there had been Anna. Anna was his wife. She and their newborn son rested beneath 2 cottonwood trees behind the ranch. After their deaths, Caleb stopped attending church. He ate alone, worked until dark, and spoke only when needed. Then Clara's letters came. She wrote about books, rain, loneliness, and the fear of giving her heart to a stranger. She never tried to fix Caleb, she simply listened. That was what saved him. Now the stagecoach rolled through dust and stopped before the wooden platform. Caleb straightened his coat. The driver opened the door. A woman stepped down wearing the blue dress Clara had described in her last letter, but she was older than Caleb expected. Her face was kind but tired. Fine lines rested near her eyes. A small scar marked her chin. She held a brown leather case against her chest. "Mr. Morgan?" she asked. Caleb's flowers lowered. "You are not Clara," the woman swallowed. "No, my name is Ruth Bennett. I am her sister." People on the saloon porch turned to watch. Ruth glanced at them. "Clara married a banker 6 days ago." Caleb did not move. "She asked me to send word," Ruth continued. "I could not let a telegram end 2 years, so I came myself." Men near the hitching rail laughed under their breath. Caleb heard them. Ruth did too. He dropped the flowers into the dust. "You wore her dress. It was the only good dress I owned." "And those?" Ruth opened the case. Inside were Caleb's letters, tied with faded blue ribbon. Every hope he had sent east was sitting in her hands. Caleb wanted to leave her there. He wanted the town to see that he had not been fooled into taking another woman home. Then church bells rang, and cold winds swept down from the mountains. The driver climbed back to his seat. Road east closes after tomorrow. Ruth stood alone beside her trunk. Caleb remembered Anna's last winter. He remembered how helpless cold could make a person. "You may stay at the ranch until the pass opens," he said. "Nothing more," Ruth nodded. "Nothing more." The ride home passed in silence. At the ranch gate, Caleb found Gideon Vale waiting on a gray horse. Vale owned nearly half the valley and wanted the creek crossing on Caleb's land. "You brought home the wrong bride," Vale said. Caleb stepped down. "You came to discuss my private life?" "I came about your note. Payment is due in 30 days. Caleb's jaw tightened. The note belonged to his late father, but Vale claimed the debt was never settled. "The land is not for sale," Caleb said. "Winter changes a man's mind." Vale looked at Ruth, then rode away. That evening, Ruth cooked stew while Caleb repaired a shutter. They spoke little, yet she knew where he kept the salt. She knew he disliked onions. She even placed his coffee on the right side of his plate. Caleb stared at the cup. "How did you know?" Ruth froze. "Clara told me." Later, after Ruth went to bed, Caleb opened the leather case. He studied one of Clara's letters beneath the lantern. Then he saw Ruth's name on the trunk tag beside it. The shape of the R was the same. So was the sharp bend in the T. Caleb lifted another page. Outside, a cow cried in pain. When he reached the barn, 3 cattle lay in the straw, foam at their mouths. Near the feed bin, he found a torn scrap of blue cloth. It matched Ruth's dress. Caleb held the torn blue cloth beneath the barn lantern. Ruth stood in the doorway, wrapped in a wool shawl. "What happened?" she asked. 3 cattle are sick. She stepped closer. From what? Caleb showed her the cloth. Ruth looked down at her dress. A piece was missing near the hem. I caught it on the fence this afternoon, she said. Near the feed bin? No. Caleb watched her face. Ruth did not look frightened. She looked hurt. You think I poisoned them? I do not know what to think. Ruth pushed past him and knelt beside the weakest cow. She smelled the animal's breath, then opened its mouth. This is not spoiled grain, she said. My father raised cattle before he died. I saw this once. What is it? Bitterweed. Caleb searched the feed bin and found crushed yellow flowers mixed with the grain. Someone had placed them there. Ruth picked up the torn cloth again. This was left so you would blame me. Caleb said nothing. The nearest cow groaned. Ruth rolled up her sleeves. We need charcoal, warm water, and every clean rag you own. They worked through the night. Ruth held the cattle steady while Caleb forced the black mixture between their teeth. She never complained, even when one animal kicked her hard enough to throw her against the stall. By dawn, 2 cattle were standing. The third had stopped breathing. Caleb dragged the dead animal outside. Snow had begun to fall in thin white flakes. Behind the barn, he found fresh hoofprints leading toward Gideon Vale's land. Ruth joined him, pressing one hand against her bruised ribs. Vale? She asked. Maybe. Why would he poison your herd? A poor rancher sells land cheaply. Caleb followed the prints until they disappeared beneath the snow. Near the fence, he found a brass button stamped with a small letter V. Vale's riders wore buttons like that. Caleb put it in his pocket. When he returned, Ruth was burning the poisoned feed. You should rest, he said. So should you. He studied her. You knew what to do tonight. I told you, my father kept cattle. That is not what I meant. Ruth looked toward the flames. You knew how I take my coffee. You knew where I kept the salt. You knew I hated onions. Clara told me. Caleb took one of the letters from his coat. Did she also tell you how to make your R exactly like hers? Ruth went still. The wind pushed smoke between them. Caleb, a rifle shot cracked across the yard. The lantern above the barn door shattered. Caleb pulled Ruth behind the water trough as another shot struck the fence. 3 riders appeared on the ridge. One shouted, 30 days, Morgan. Then they vanished into the snow. Caleb reached for his rifle, but Ruth grabbed his arm. You cannot fight 3 men in a storm. I cannot let them attack my home, and I cannot watch another good man die because of pride. Her words struck him harder than the shot. Another man? Ruth released his arm. My father, she said quietly. He challenged a land agent over a false debt. They found him in a creek 2 days later. Caleb saw fear in her eyes. Not fear for herself, fear for him. They hurried into the ranch house as the storm thickened. That night, snow buried the road. Wind shook the cabin walls. Ruth sat near the stove, sewing the torn hem of her blue dress. Caleb placed the letters on the table. Tell me about Clara. Ruth's needle stopped. She is beautiful, Ruth said. People notice her when she enters a room. That is not what I asked. Ruth stared into the fire. She wanted security, a large home, fine clothes, a husband with money. Then why did she write to a rancher? She was lonely at first. At first, Ruth's hands began to tremble. Caleb untied the blue ribbon. He pulled out the letter that had kept him alive after Anna's death. It said grief was not a locked room. It was a long road, and one day he might find someone willing to walk beside him. Caleb placed it before Ruth. Did Clara write this? Ruth's eyes filled with tears. Before she could answer, a hard knock sounded at the door. Sheriff Amos Reed entered with snow on his shoulders. Caleb, he said. Gideon Vale was shot an hour ago. Caleb slowly stood. The sheriff removed a folded paper from his coat. We found this beside him. It was one of Caleb's letters, and across the bottom, in Ruth's handwriting, were the words, He knows the truth. Stop him before he takes the ranch. Sheriff Reed placed the letter on Caleb's table. Where were you both an hour ago? He asked. Here, Caleb said. The storm trapped us. Ruth stared at the message beneath Caleb's old letter. I wrote those words, she admitted. Caleb's face hardened. But not tonight, she continued. I wrote them yesterday after Gideon threatened us. I tore the page apart and placed it in the stove. The sheriff looked toward the cold ashes. Someone removed it before it burned, Ruth said. Caleb picked up the letter. Its paper was clean and dry. If it was found beside Vale in the snow, he said, why is there no water on it? Sheriff Reed studied the page. A horse screamed outside. Caleb opened the door and found a rider collapsed near the porch. It was Owen Pike, one of Vale's hired men. Blood covered his sleeve. Vale shot me, Owen gasped. Said dead men cannot confess. They carried him inside. Owen admitted everything. Vale had ordered him to poison the cattle and leave Ruth's cloth behind. Later, he had entered Caleb's cabin during the rifle attack and stolen the torn note from the stove. Vale had planned to shoot himself lightly, place Caleb's letter beside him, and claim Ruth had hired Caleb to kill him. Once Caleb was arrested, Vale would take the ranch over the old debt. Why does he want this land so badly? Caleb asked. Owen gave a weak laugh. Railroad survey crosses your creek. Vale has known for months. Sheriff Reed sent 2 deputies to arrest Gideon Vale. By sunrise, the storm had weakened. Vale was found hiding in his office with a wounded shoulder and a ledger listing every payment he had made to Owen. The debt against Caleb's father was false, but Caleb felt no victory. He returned home and found Ruth packing her trunk. You are leaving? He asked. The road will open soon. Caleb placed the letters on the table. Not before you tell me who wrote them. Ruth slowly sat down. Clara wrote the first 3, she said. Then she grew tired of waiting. She asked me to answer for her. Caleb's voice became low. For 2 years? At first, I believed I was only helping. Then you wrote about Anna. You wrote that the house had become so quiet you could hear the clock from the barn. Tears filled Ruth's eyes. I could not leave that letter unanswered. So you lied? Yes. Did Clara know? She knew I continued writing. She did not know how much of myself I placed in the words. Caleb turned away. Every letter that had saved him now felt like a wound. Why did you come west? To tell you the truth. You waited until I discovered it. I was afraid. Caleb looked at her. Ruth's voice broke. Clara was always the beautiful one. Men saw her first. I thought if you learned the woman behind the letters was older, plain and frightened, you would wish I had stayed hidden. You let me believe I loved your sister. I know. Caleb carried the letters outside. Ruth followed him to the cottonwood trees where Anna and the baby were buried. Caleb knelt beside the graves. I promised myself I would never build another life on a grave, he said. But I have been living inside one. Ruth stood silently behind him. Caleb untied the blue ribbon. I cannot pretend your lie did not hurt me. I would never ask you to. And I cannot marry a woman because her words once saved me. Ruth lowered her head. But winter is not over, Caleb continued. The cattle still need tending. The roof still leaks. She looked up. Stay until spring, he said. Not as Clara's sister, not as the woman from the letters. As who? Caleb placed the letters back in her hands. As Ruth Bennett, and this time, speak only your own words. Months later, the first spring stagecoach stopped in Red Creek. Ruth stood beside it with her trunk packed. Caleb offered her no flowers and made no grand promise. He simply held out a new sheet of paper. At the top, he had written, Dear Ruth, would you walk this long road beside me? Ruth read it twice. Then she set her trunk back on the ground.